Hello everyone, sorry it's been a while. Today we have r/Nosleep. Have a good one. It wasn't my boyfriend spooning me last night. My boyfriend is a heavy snorer. There's a sharp inhale and then the exhale. Oh boy, the exhale. It sounds like a tractor struggling to start. And sometimes there's silence after that and it's uncomfortable and heavy. He doesn't breathe, so I shake him gently and loosen up his struck breath. And off he goes again. Eventually, I began moving him gently, and after some trial and error, I found the perfect position for him to get a snore sleep. 2 years later, however, and sleep is just more comfortable after spooning for an hour, and then both turning around to our respective sleeping positions. Yesterday, the same ritual ensued. We watched some TikTok in bed together, talked and laughed. Then he switched off the light and he spooned me for an hour or so. He snored and I sorted it out. Then he turned around and fell back to sleep. I couldn't quite follow suit, so my hand roamed underneath a pillow, which finally stumbled across my phone. The harsh light burnt my eyes until I managed to dim my phone and began browsing Instagram and other forms of social media. An hour or so went by. I was getting tired and then I heard a click from across the room, like a tongue was pulling away from the roof of a mouth. My frenzied mind responded by turning on a torch on my phone and pointing it towards the direction it came from. To my relief, I was greeted with emptiness, our walls are thin, and it was probably just someone passing our house clicking their tongue. My boyfriend was still sleeping heavily, facing away as I slowly let my body lower onto the bed again, torch off, back to scrolling, but slightly uneasy in my mind. Half an hour or so went by when I felt his hands snake all across my body as he dragged me closer into his body. His touch was warm and welcome as my body struggled to heat up. I could feel his heavy breath rise and fall onto my neck. Also seeping onto my back, I felt his pull, so my body obliged and pushed back. This cured my insomnia. Sleep weighed down on my eyes, and I began drifting away. That's when I heard it again, but right behind me. Click. It was heavy and wet. I felt a sense of dread as a knot formed in my chest, which woke me up fully. That's when I noticed. I could feel his breath, but not hear it. His chest rose and fell, but not with his breath. It was out of sync, but you had to really focus to notice. The focus of a woman petrified. A few breaths went by, and those arms of that body that had encased mine was no longer just warm. It was getting uncomfortably hot. I still had no bravery in me to move. That's when I felt a shift of weight on the other side of the bed. I knew my boyfriend had moved to sleep onto his back, but the arms still remained around me, and a body still pressed against mine. My mind couldn't make sense of it. I bit the inside of my mouth and squeezed my eyes shut, as I tried to not make a sound as I cried without making a noise. I didn't want it to know I knew. Click. I bit so hard I could taste the blood pooling in my mouth. Click again. But less time in between this one and the last. Click. It was like the beginning of rain where you hear the first few splatters on your window, but then it picks up pace, and finally, it comes down heavy and all at once. There were no breaks in between the clicks. It was inhumanely fast. The arms began to tighten around me, and they pulled me closer into whatever it was. I could hear the clicks like its mouth was right behind my ears. Its breath was hot now. I could barely stand the heat anymore. I couldn't contain the flood of fear in my body any longer. And as it seeped out, my body trembled in its arms, and I broke into a sob as the clicking continued. Its scorching breath on my back made it bubble. My sob turned into a wail filled with fear and pain. Soon after I heard my name, but it sounded distorted, cracked. I squeezed my eyes so hard that I felt like my eyeballs were going to burst. Then I felt hands holding onto my shoulders and shaking me. Not arms that I could still feel wrapped around my stomach. The voice sounded clear, and it was familiar and safe. I trusted my gut and finally opened my eyes, and to my relief, it was my boyfriend's face that greeted me. There were creases on his forehead that were left there by concern, and I could see fear in his eyes. My body reached up and I clung onto him. As I continued to cry, I don't know when it happened, but I could no longer feel those arms that felt like hot rods around me. I refused to stay in the room, so he got dressed as I put on a shirt of his and some shorts, and we hurried down to the living room. My fingers were intertwined into his, and I didn't let go of his hands once. I explained what had happened, and he listened intently. It felt like I didn't take a breath until I finished my account. And by the time I was done, I was exhausted. I didn't ask him if he believed me, because I didn't know if I believed myself. He didn't say a word and pulled me into a hug. Pain flooded my entire back when he touched my back, and I pulled away fast, wincing. He lifted my shirt to examine my back, and I could see worry in his eyes again, as he quickly walked to his desk, grabbed his car keys, and told me we were going to the hospital. My fear heightened, and I asked him to take a picture. He showed me my back, now covered in blisters. It looked like my back was plastered with pus filled with bubble wrap. He rushed me out as fast as we could. When we reached the hospital, he wasn't allowed to wait with me. Now he's in the car outside, waiting for me while I sit in A&E. It is eerily empty. My eyes are getting heavy, and I'm trying to make myself stay up because I have a feeling that if I fall back into sleep, it'll come back. I swear every time I begin nodding off, I can hear a click in the distance getting closer. I gave a college interview. Something was really off about the girl I interviewed. I'm an alumni interviewer for my alma mater. This year we've been conducting most of our interviews online. It's been a lot of fun, until I got Casey. On paper, Casey looked like a great fit for our college. Great ACT scores, lots of extracurriculars, and some prestigious art awards. But as soon as she joined the video call, I knew it wasn't going to go well. She was using one of those awful beauty filters. During an interview, and not a basic one of lipstick and eyeshadow, one of those creepy subtle ones that makes your eyes slightly bigger and your skin unnaturally smooth. I tried to ignore it, tried to pretend like she didn't look like some mannequin-esque woman come to life. So Casey, why do you think you would be a good fit for C University? I asked, forcing a smile. I love the art program, she said, as she spoke. The filter seemed to glitch, her mouth moved strangely as she formed the words. Must be that teeth whitening filter. Her teeth were white, like glowing, like Ross from that one episode of Friends white. Okay, you love the art program? What about it do you like? I love the program's focus on real-life models. Okay, at least she was prepared. Researching our specific program meant she was pretty interested. I jotted down a note, seems interested. What type of art do you specialize in? I like to paint. You like to paint what specifically? Portraits or landscapes? Faces. Oh, so portraits. No, I like to paint faces. She said it in this aggressive tone, like she was correcting me and annoyed that I'd make such an egregious error. I almost asked what's the difference, but then decided it might not make me look stupid. Okay, that's really neat. I jotted down. Likes to paint faces, not portraits, faces. Why do you like to paint faces? I think they're fascinating, she replied, her two large eyes boring into mine. Okay, that's good. Kind of a strange personality, I added to my notes. Tell me, Casey, what do you like to do in your spare time? For me, this was the perfect barometer of a candidate. Lots of smart-ass kids would try to outsmart me on this one, and saying things like learn, or read books, or try to kill cancer. Others were totally oblivious and answered things like partying with friends or Instagram. The really good ones were in the middle, the ones that said things like hiking or playing piano or visiting grandma. She stared at me for a moment, the light in her eyes strangely elliptical from the filter stretching them out. Then her mouth opened, her lips moving strangely over two white teeth. I like to paint faces. But what else do you like to do in your free time? She paused, her face blank, almost like she was confused by the question. Do you maybe like to hike, or hang out with friends, or... Faces are just so fascinating to me, she interrupted, her tone soft, the way the nose protrudes from the cheeks, the way the eyes glisten in the light, the way the mouth stretches and curves, showing so many different expressions. She continued, her tone growing faster, frenzied almost. The emptiness of the forehead, the intensity of the eyelashes, the curve of the chin, I held up a hand. Yes, I understand you like to paint faces, but can you, I trailed off. This girl was really weird. Half of me just wanted to click the end cool button right now, with no explanation, but I had a duty, right? A duty to fairly interview this girl and write up a letter about her to the admissions committee. Here, how about this? If you had the next 24 hours of and unlimited money, what would you do? She smiled, lips stretching to show those bright white teeth. I'd paint a face. She said, smiling wide above a second. Yours. Chills crept down my body. What? I'd paint your face, she continued. I've been looking for a new one, and yes, the brightness of your blue eyes, the curl in your hair, the soft lines around your eyes that show wisdom. It's perfect, 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 I clicked end cool there, and then I sat there, half terrified and half perplexed, staring at my desktop, my fingers still on the touchpad, ice cold. Because in that split second before the call ended, the filter glitched. Smooth, perfect flesh gave way to something grey and bony. Blue eyes flashed sickly yellow. White teeth jittered to pointed fangs. Casey, it seemed, was quite good at painting human faces. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you wanted to see more, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm sorry it took me so long to upload. I just have not felt like it. Have a good one.